Is there an asset test when buying an HDFC co-op in New York City? We'll demystify this topic in the following video. I'm Nick at HouseIt. We can save you money through a commission rebate if you're buying in New York City. Learn how and sign up by visiting houseit.com. So let's go ahead and get started on today's video, which is whether or not you as a purchaser of an HDFC are subject to any sort of asset or net worth test when buying. Now, you're probably aware by way of watching this video that HDFCs do have income limits for prospective purchasers. Now, obviously, once you buy into an HDFC, you're not subject to ongoing income testing, which means if your income goes up in the future, it's not a big deal. But a lot of buyers of HDFCs are wondering, shouldn't there be some sort of an asset limit if HDFCs are basically designed to provide affordable housing? And this question has become more and more relevant over the years as the market value of many HDFCs has gone up. So in certain instances, when the sale price of an HDFC apartment is high enough and the building has income limits on the lower end of the spectrum, it actually creates a scenario where the only people who can actually qualify to buy the apartment are essentially rich people, people who are basically asset rich and they have a lot of cash or liquidity to their name. So we can go over in a specific example here. Take a look at this apartment in the East Village. This property, priced around $700,000, is a co-op, and the income limits are essentially around $50,000 for an individual, so a one-person household. Now, if you think for a moment that your typical lender has a debt-to-income ratio requirement of 43%, it means that if you were to put down the typical 20% on this property, in order to get an 80% mortgage, your income would literally have to be twice the income requirement for this particular building. So in other words, there's effectively no way for somebody who can't put down a huge amount of money to buy this particular co-op. And that's actually the reason why we see with HDFCs, they're very popular among low income, high asset people, but also by extension, somebody like a student. A student obviously has pretty minimal income. And a lot of the times, the student may have a parent or somebody who essentially gifts the entire down payment. In this case, you'd have to put down at least $500K. So as a result, ironically, HDFCs in New York City are not necessarily very affordable. And in fact, many of them with lower income limits literally are essentially just incentivizing people who are asset rich to buy the property. Now, that being said, regulation can always change. And there was a bit of a scare back in 2017. At the time, the de Blasio administration was working with HPD, Housing Preservation and Development, to essentially create a new regulatory framework for HDFCs. And the way that would be accomplished essentially would be by reworking the regulatory agreement that a small fraction of co-ops, HDFC co-ops have in New York City, and essentially strongly encouraging HDFCs to sign this new agreement in exchange for some larger property tax break. Many HDFCs receive a tax break. But within this new regulatory agreement, there were some very, very scary things, one of which was actually an asset test. So there is always a possibility that in the future, if the city continues down this path or attempts to revive this sort of framework revision, that there may very well be some sort of an asset test in the future if the HDFC agrees to sign whatever regulatory agreement is put in front of them. So just to summarize this video, there currently is no sort of asset test or net worth test associated with the purchase of an HDFC co-op. The only thing you're going to have to deal with is the income test, and that does vary by building, but note that there is a statutory maximum of 165% of AMI. So an HDFC cannot have an income limit that is higher than that, but many of them do have income limits which are lower than 165 based on language that may be in some of their corporate documents. So again, if you are looking to buy in New York City, HDFC or otherwise, we can save you money here at HouseIt through a commission rebate. You can learn how by visiting our website, houseit.com. We also have a buyer closing cost calculator, which may be of use for you. The link is below in the description. And if you like this video, please go ahead and like it and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And we hope to see you on the next one.